Ever since the Horus Heresy, the Imperium of Man has been assailed by the myriad warbands of the Chaos Space Marines. Many Chaos Lords have risen to glory and infamy for their actions in prosecuting the Long War. However, some names have been legends amongst the followers of the ruinous powers for over 10,000 years. Mighty warriors during the Great Crusade made the ultimate champions of chaos. Today, we look at one such individual, a formerly repressed psyker who now carries both the Destroyer and Zombie Plague. This is the tale of Calas Typhon, now known as Typhus, first captain of the Death Guard. My name is Michael for Tactica Imperialis, and welcome to 40k Stories. Calas Typhon was born on the planet of Barbarus, a toxic planet ruled over by despotic warlords with sorcerous powers. Like these overlords, the young Typhon had mutant psyker blood in his veins, but it is unknown if he was born before or after the arrival of the Primarch Mortarion on Barbarus. The young Primarch was originally taken in by the mightiest of the warlords, who sensed Mortarion's power, but the Child of Death broke free from his adopted father's fortress and discovered the human populace whom he swore to liberate. This revolution was a great success, but Mortarion's quote-unquote father had retreated to a peak where the atmosphere was so noxious it would kill even Mortarion himself. Somehow these warlords were immune to the effects of the air, assumedly psychic nonsense. The Emperor arrived soon after this, and after Mortarion failed to slay his father due to the air, the Lord of Mankind completed the deliverance of Barbarus, winning his Gene Son's fealty in the process. Mortarion was given command of the 14th Legion, which he renamed from the Dusk Raiders to the Death Guard after his civilian army on Barbarus. Typhon was selected amongst some of the initial recruits. However, Mortarion had developed a distaste for the use of the arcane, seeing it as beneath true warriors like the Death Guard. It of course had nothing to do with the fact that the rulers of Barbarus had all actually been psykers. This forced Typhon to suppress his harnessed psychic potential so his lord never knew of his abilities. He had impressed the Legion's apothecaries with his inner strength, and this only continued through his training. He had needed an iron will to be able to control and then suppress his psychic power, and this saw him become the champion amongst the 14th Legion for endurance. In the toxin trials of the Death Guard, his stamina saw him victorious time and again. Before long, Calas Typhon had won the favour of his Primarch, and was elevated to the honoured position of First Captain of the Death Guard, an honour all the more impressive given that the Typhon had not even required his psychic powers to achieve this rank. His resilience was legendary. He was capable of fighting only a week after throwing himself on a crack grenade, and could survive in the harshest of environments. Even the Death Shroud, Mortarion's honour guard of 49 elite Terminators, were in disbelief. It could be theorised that this was the early machinations of Nurgle upon Calas Typhon, even before he was aware of the corrupting powers of chaos, but this is simply a theory and unsubstantiated. As was the case for Horus and his kin, Typhon was first introduced to chaos through the Word-Bearers Legion. Erebus, chaplain of the Word-Bearers, inducted the Death Guard into a warrior lodge, where he showed Typhon the potential of the Legiones Astartes without the Emperor holding their chains. A world in which the psychic power Typhon had suppressed for so long could be celebrated. With his first captain now corrupted by chaos, Mortarion too fell to the ruinous powers, though the effect Typhon had on his lord's fall is disputed. Whatever the captain's impact was, Mortarion saw in Horus a worthy leader as opposed to the self-serving emperor who had robbed him of his home. He believed that without the Emperor's intervention he would have become the king of Barbarus. The corruption in the upper echelons of the 14th Legion soon filtered through about 2/3 of the warriors in the rank and file, with one notable exception, Captain Nathaniel Garrow of the 7th Company. On Istvan III, the original traitor legions wiped out their loyalist elements through exterminatus and invasion. Incidentally, a large amount of the loyalist Death Guard were of Terran origin, whose loyalty to the Emperor outweighed loyalty to Mortarion, as the warriors of Barbarus had. Mortarion believed that Captain Garrow, a Terran, could be swayed to the traitor cause, and so saved him from the initial virus bombing and firestorm. Garrow, however, would not be swayed, and somehow came to know of the exterminatus before it took place. Typhon, seeing Mortarian's choice as an error, assigned the known traitor commander Ignatius Grulgor to Garrow's ship, the Eisenstein, knowing that Grulgor would willingly eliminate the seventh captain if he did not comply. Unfortunately for Typhon, his ploy was discovered and Grulgor was eliminated, allowing the Eisenstein to break from the fleet and flee to Terra. Typhon gave chase aboard the battleship Terminus Est, but the frigate was able to disengage and escape despite suffering heavy damage. Following the initial exchanges of the Heresy, Mortarion ordered the Death Guard to head straight for Holy Terror to join the final traitor assault. However, his first captain had other plans for his legion, plans that would see the Death Guard changed forever. Typhon no longer served his Primarch. His true master was Grandfather Nurgle himself. He saw to it that the Legion's navigators were all killed over time, and following a trip to Prospero and defeat by Jagtai Khan and the White Scars Legion, he told Mortarion that his psychic power would be used to navigate the warp. With no other options available to him, Mortarion begrudgingly consented to the sorcerer. Typhon led the Death Guard fleet through the warp until the tides of the Immaterium were suddenly becalmed. The intention of the first captain had not been to take them to Terra, but to deliver them to the Plague Father. With the fleet floating hopelessly in the warp, the ships found themselves being infected by some of the vilest of Nurgle's plagues, Nurgle's rot and the Destroyer Plague. Both vessel and soldier found themselves easily infected, and before long giant demon flies buzzed through the halls of the ships. Armour mutated, flesh liquefied, and the Death Guard found themselves in an impossible position. Nurgle had turned the extreme resilience and survivability of the 14th Legion against them, as their bodies simply refused to die, no matter what horrors were inflicted upon them. Instead, they became Plague Marines. Their infinite agony ceased only when they surrendered their souls to the Plague Father. Typhon, as the Grand Orchestrator, was granted great boons by his master. He fused with his armour, funnels of bone bursting from the back of it. These funnels attacked and attracted the same plague flies swarming about the fleet, sucking them in until Typhon's enlarged body was a hive for them. Calas Typhon was gone, and in his place was Typhus, host of the terrifying Destroyer Hive. Following the defeat of Horus upon the vengeful spirit, the Plague Marines, the name changed at some time between their transformation and the siege of the Imperial Palace, made their retreat into the Eye of Terror along with the other traitor legions. They settled on a world known as the Plague Planet, and Mortarion began to reshape it in such a glorious way that he was rewarded with ascension to demonhood. Soon, the Plague Planet resembled Barbarus itself. Typhus railed against the sentimentality of the reshaping, and in Mortarion's inactivity in prosecuting the Long War. As a result, he chose to strike out from the Plague Planet, gathering those who hated the Imperium the most and launching a plague fleet, the Terminus Est at its head. Ever since, he has been known as Typhus the Traveller, partially out of respect and partially to mock his tireless work. Typhus has gone on to unleash the full power of Nurgle upon the Imperium for the last 10 millennia. The Destroyer Plague he hosts within him is possibly the most virulent toxin, but it cannot affect a large area due to the transmission vector of demon flies. And so Typhus searches for the perfect plague, one that will bring all to their deaths and to the servitude of the Plague Father. He has walked on worlds the galaxy over, and has even visited the Garden of Nurgle itself, deep within the warp. There, he was able to command the legions of Nurgle to repulse an invasion from the forces of Khorne, slaying the demon prince leading the assault at the end of the battle. This action, along with his continued crusade of pestilence, granted him an audience with the Lord of Decay himself. He presented the guts of the Khornate leader to Nurgle for his cauldron, then dipped his scythe in the virulent filth around the cauldron's base before beating a hasty retreat. Even for one so favoured, lingering in the throne room of Nurgle would mean certain death. Typhus is convinced that he is the true chosen son of Nurgle, not Mortarion, for for the Demon Primarch was simply a means to an end in creating the Plague Marines to begin with. He has been a tireless servant of the Plague Father, who constantly strives to bring ruin to mankind. Typhus is subject to many myths and legends, for his actions and achievements are certainly the stuff on which such things are made. To name just a couple of his innumerable triumphs, he has unleashed a plague song that caused its victims to waste away, singing praise to Nurgle all the while. He engineered a plague that wipes out the entire male population of a world known as Florins. But, despite all his great works, Typhus's jewel in his plague-encrusted crown is the zombie plague, unleashed on Segmentum Obscurus, the region of space to the galactic north, containing both Cadia and the Eye of Terror. The zombie plague infects those who have no hope left, conveniently just like the majority of the Imperium, causing them to rot from the inside until they die. However, this is not the end for these unfortunate souls, as they are forced to rise again as undead, shambling forwards to infect those who still cling to life. One such world infected this way, or by a very similar virus, was the planet of Orath, which was saved only by the sacrifice of an Ultramarines chaplain walking directly into a warp tear. Typhus's presence is not confirmed on Orath, but the similarities to the zombie plague are undeniable. When not in the theatre of war, where his Forsyth Man-Reaper claims a bloody tally for his lord, Typhus's mind is fused with his old flagship, the Terminus Est. There, he plots courses for the Plague Fleet to infect new worlds or systems. It is through the actions of the sorcerer that billions of Imperials have died, adding to the legend of the Traveller and allowing Nurgle to wax stronger in the Immaterium. Typhus will not rest until the entire galaxy has been blessed by the touch of the Plague Father, and even then he will likely continue to travel for the purpose of experimentation. Regardless of what awaits him, Typhus is by far the greatest and most devoted of Nurgle's mortal warriors, and will probably remain so until the Plague Father deems his work complete and his life forfeit. So ends the tale of Calas Typhon. He was once a psyker from a toxic world, forced to suppress his power and survive on his will alone in the toughest of legions. Now he is the greatest servant of Nurgle, bringing plague and ruin to the galaxy in the name of the Lord of Decay, as his sorcerer's powers flow freely. This video is the third part in our mini-series, Champions of Chaos. Next time, we look at the final Chaos God's chosen sorcerer, before exploring the champion of Chaos Undivided. For now though, the tide of filth has been stemmed, and so this video must end. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Michael for Tactica Imperialis, and I will see you all again. Goodbye.